Welcome to the Data Coffee Break podcast. I'm Marc.
And I'm Christian.
If you are passionate about data like us, take a seat, relax, and join us to our coffee break where we discuss all things data.
And remember, there are no filters, no PR.
It's just a real life experience. So let's begin. Is it a very interesting mug you have? Is it coffee?
That mug is a tea I'm drinking.
So it's not the Data Coffee Break podcast. It's a Data Tea Coffee Break podcast.
Man, I'm horrible with that stuff. I don't drink coffee. Can you believe a Brazilian not drinking coffee? And the funny thing is, once I paid $100 to do a tea tasting. I love tea. So I was in Taiwan, paid $100, and I tasted a bunch of tea. Some of them cost like 4,000 euros.
Oh my God.
100 grams or something. Of course, you just get a tiny sip. And in the end, they asked which one you like the most. And I pointed to a black one, and they said, "Oh, this is the poor man's tea. You like poor man's tea?" Really? Literally in China, Taiwan, they have this poor man's tea, which is like this traditional, very black, English breakfast, like you have here and also Middle East.
Yeah.
I grew up eating this crap, drinking this crap. So.
Oh, no. So we spoke with our guest so far. Do you want to introduce him, Christian?
Yes, let me introduce our guest today, Marc. Today is very special because we are joined by a data professional and technologist with 20 years of working experience. He has worked as a solution architect, solution engineer at companies such as DataWatch, Fortune, and Tableau. And he has also worked as business analyst and networking engineer in the past as well. He has a degree, actually, engineering in mathematics and computational science from Chalmers University, as well as a degree in electrical engineering from the Universidade Católica of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He's a blogger, a healthy lifestyle advocate, a friend, a colleague, and one of the nicest people I have ever met. And with us today, we have Alex Eskinasy. Welcome.
Wow. Thanks for the intro, guys. Yeah, good to be here. Thank you very much. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic. And I would add, it's great when you want to geek out on a Friday afternoon as well.
Oh my God, I miss that.
Doing some scripts, doing some testing with new products. It was fantastic to do that with you.
Long time, man. Yeah. And we had always this Friday geek out, right? In the office. Yeah. And you push the boundaries, Marc. You were the ones like, oh my God, let's try this. And then we would get stuck and Christian would come, "Oh, that's easy. Let me show you."
No, exactly. That's quite true.
And Alex Locum as well. If he's listening to it, Alex was also part of that gang.
Yeah, indeed.
Today, we were thinking about covering a data topic that yourself, Alex, you have been heavily involved in the last few years, which is data monetization. Could we just start by clarifying what is data monetization in your area? Where do you see it? Is that a good place to get started?
Yeah. So before joining this session, I was going to say that I've been working with this for 2 years. But then now you did the introduction and you said, oh, you worked at Fortune. And Fortune is an electricity company. And that was 15 years ago when I lived in Sweden. And I was kind of doing that right there. I was helping analysts buy data from data providers, take that data, combine it, and predict energy prices, predict energy demand, and all that. And I see this growing, and it never stops. So these days, the way I see it, it's like companies like the one I worked back and more today, they have this wealth of data that they either produce or they buy. And it's usually clean. And they have interactions with customers, prospects, suppliers, maybe IoT device data and all that. And they put a good effort to make it clean and accurate, and then sometimes they enrich. And they do reporting like that. That's what they used to do in the company back then. Yeah. Now imagine if you want to take that same reporting you're doing, and you wanna other customers in your industry could use the same knowledge that you have in house. Why not monetize it, right? So that's the kind of idea, right? You take the data, create new offers, create new products, or maybe it's a service. Or they already have an external facing product that they kind of enrich. That's my view.
I think that's very well put. The data that you have in the company, it has a lot of value, right? So why not protect it, first of all, and second, monetize it? I've seen so many use cases or ways to monetize this data. But I'm just to give an example, right? I've seen that you can monetize using APIs. You can monetize sometimes even by being able to export data as a CSV or of course doing reporting, right? But in your view, what is the most common ways of monetization?
Yeah, no, that's true. It has been forever the way, right? Where people would get this data as a package on an FTP. I think we are like kind of revealing our age here. An FTP, and then it became an API endpoint, and still is today, right? You have those data brokers. They sell data, raw data. Perhaps the data is slightly massaged and enriched, but still just the data feed. I think there are three main categories. That's the data as a product, which is one of them, like just giving the data like this. But some of them take that data, refine, and put some sort of analysis on top. So it's the product, the data product is baked with insights, right? And I think like if you take examples from the industry, like retail supermarkets, we have Ocado here in the UK. They are an online supermarket retailer. So they understand everything about their customers and also their suppliers. So there's a lot of information there that is valuable to those suppliers. So what are the products people want to buy? What are the typical products they buy together, and basket values and all that? So yeah, I think that data as a product is one of them. Then you have the second category, I think, which is more like I take that data and I'm good in an industry. So you take that knowledge and you make the market research combining with the data and you produce dashboards. And this is what I see a lot in my business, because we have people building analysis in the form of dashboards, and they could embed those dashboards with analysis and the data massage right there. Yeah, those are the two main categories. Then you have the kind of analytics-enabled products. Maybe you, Christian, and Mark have seen more of that, like IoTs of the like. So let's say you buy this smart device in your house, like a boiler, and it's connected to the web and it's sending data up. You can take that like in a private case like this, but in a company, a corporate, this heating system will send a signal and they know when a part needs replacement. So beforehand, they kind of send you something, right? They send you an engineer or a new part. So that saves a lot of money for the customer, potentially breaking down.
I love you put it fantastically well, because those are like, I guess, the three main categories that we might see and use cases that we could see in different industries. And to come back to your point of the early days, we've been speaking a couple of months ago with Alex Eskinasy when he explained his experience of alternative data. But he was also saying that it's something that's been around for ages in a way. Every company is becoming a data company, of course. But when you think like a few decades ago, only a few companies were considering themselves as data-driven or producing data or handing data to other organizations. And I can imagine it was, simple reports or basically sending by post some CDs or some maybe documentation with the data, market data. And that was the early days of what could be considered a data monetization in this case. So I like this completely story here. Yeah.
I mean, people subscribe to magazines, right? Specialized magazines. And you get really, really powerful analysis right there.
I like that you put it as data product. And it feels like every data term becomes a buzzword or a data trend. In your views, Alex, I mean, is data products more around like the monetization, or when do you see these two terms converging, like the data products for data mesh versus the ones that you monetize?
Yeah, I actually discussed this once with a person, but is it like the roadmap of a data product? Does it involve monetization or not? Like from day one, right? Because some products, like you open an app, your banking app, and you already see some analytics, like these are the categories you spend most of your money, and these are the types of products you're buying, and they're not necessarily monetizing it, right? It is a data product. There is analytics baked in, but it's given. Nowadays, everyone needs to have it, right? And perhaps for a competitive reason, you might want to add one or two additional types of analysis there. Because your customer has it. So you still not monetize it. It's a cost and it's a survival tactic. which which people need to do this day. But then you get to the third phase, which is, oh my God, I'm doing this so well. And I actually have a lot of data from all these customers or all these suppliers. I mean, can I not anonymize and sell a specialized report? Maybe not to the same audience, but a slightly different audience, which contains a benchmarking analytics, a benchmarking analysis of competitors and things like that. So I think that will be the third level when they really realize a monetization. Well, that's one example, at least.
Well, I guess organization first, they need to consume their own data and find value on it. And maybe they can extend to say, no, let's find another revenue stream externally with that. I don't know if it's like this way you see it with organizations.
But it's a good point. I mean, I was looking to use my British Airways points I collected back in the days before COVID. And I realized to use that, they have a service on their website. It's called BA Flight Finder. And it's sadly horrible. You can't really, you have to put the city you're coming from, the city you want to go, and you put the dates, and surely nothing comes out of it. So I'm like, there must be a better way. And I Google BA, British Flight Finder, Rewards Finder, and I find this company that I don't know how they do it, but that's super smart. So some companies don't have the data, but they can monetize with data which is out there. And it's a win-win. So this company goes and it gives you 1 year of availability. Or you say, I'm in London. So you have to, of course, subscribe. They tease you to make the search, and they show the fully anonymized search results.
Great tactics.
We're like, from London, you can go to Rio, and you have this many points. You can go there. These are the dates. And oh, man, I'm like, this is brilliant.
I want this website. You need to share with me because I need it, actually.
This is a brilliant use case. Sounds similar to the case where you have these retailers that are in the middle, right? Like they are not the ones producing the goods, but they subscribe via Amazon and they are the ones selling, like they're this intermediary. They do this now with data basically as well. This is actually quite cool. If you go into the company side of things, organizations, this sounds like something that everyone should be doing. Or even you gave an example that
every company, want to create new revenue stream or want to leverage their data. Yeah,
exactly. You know, you're quite close working with these organizations that are trying to get into these new revenue streams, monetization. What you see usually as their challenges when they are trying to develop these data products? Have you seen some patterns?
I had a call earlier this week. That was so interesting on this point. So I think executive alignment is sometimes one of the biggest challenges. So from a business perspective, you have someone who needs to be highly influential and highly entrepreneurial, right? Because you're kind of taking your skin in the game, your career potentially to say, hey, I see an opportunity here, and you need to convince them. So then you get the challenge that one, maybe the top execs are not having this as a priority already, so you have to do some convincing. And two, that you will have the IT in between, that you're going to have to partner with them, because these are the people, the data scientists who know the data, who know the business analysts, they know it really well, and you're going to have to pull them from their operational day. And so even if you convince them, then it's going to be this discussion, we don't want to go and buy this stuff. We want to do it ourselves. And there's all these careers in the line because people have been working in a way for so long, and you come and potentially bringing them something that could rock the boat, and it could be huge or not. So that's on the business side.
As you pointed out, like a person who needs influential internally, but also entrepreneurial. Do you consider, in this case, organization want to set up this kind of data monetization? Is it like basically a new business unit they're creating in the organization or not?
Yeah, if it's a completely new business for the company, I think so. Yeah, it would be a new revenue stream. It's like, for example, the Ocado, right? Ocado is a business to consumer company selling goods, and they somehow realize, oh my God, we have to monetize this gold we have on our hands, right? So definitely they had to pull some strings. And it's almost like creating a new company within your company. It's a new division. The telecom company Telia in Sweden, they did that as well. They have a division called Division X, which was like, how do we take all this data anonymized from the citizens and sell to municipalities and or private companies? They really had to get someone who wants to build a completely mini empire on that, and it might become the company actually. They might see that this is where the value is.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and in this case, what kind of let's say resources is it required in terms of human resources, maybe type of technologies, product stack they might need to invest on?
First of all, you need to change the mindset to think like a product company. Like how do I ship a product to market? You're gonna have this agile methodology. You're gonna build a business case, and you're gonna try with customers. And on the technology side, it's definitely not straightforward. And I think maybe Christian, you can comment more on that. Like all these data pipelines, because one thing is for sure, companies have been hoarding data. Like everyone has massive amounts of data, and they use very little of it for operational reasons. The only recent data, we read a report recently, right, Christian, on that. The big data is dead because really for operational analytics, you need recent data or maybe 1 or 2 years. But yeah, how do you actually take this whole data you have and now you give it in a way that you don't give it away? That is the biggest risk, that you end up just giving that precious gold you have away as a data feed. But you can slowly introduce it to players. But technically, how do you see it, Christian? Maybe I'll get your vision on that.
No, yes. I mean, I think there are a few steps to take into consideration, as you mentioned. Some of them are more cultural changes in data, such as what is it? And this is not a formula, by the way, just as a caveat here, right? I'm not saying that this is the definitive way to create your data product. But one of the things to always understand is that you need to get your heads around creating a domain. In the context of Ocado, I think, but you might have a domain on, I don't know, sales, and another domain could be the marketing sales. I'm just giving you the very high level here, right? And then each one of these domains, they might have a combination of solutions that actually creates the product. But the important thing about data product is that it needs to be repeatable and being able to be to create a template out of it. So if your technology stack changes, it doesn't matter because you have your template on how you create your data product. And here I'm talking about both your data definition plus your the frequency of refreshes or data and so on. You put it very well there, Alex, when you mentioned is agile. You need to consider that maybe the domains that you define at the beginning, like, for example, I don't know, operations or transactions or sales, that might need to be revised. But the important thing, as I always see, when you create those data products from a technology perspective, is that they need to be, templatized, if that's a word, so it creates template out of it.
I agree with that. And I think a key to that process you described, this kind of framework, is having a person with extremely good business acumen to understand that, okay, if I'm going to create this template or this formula, again, I'm also not anyone prescribing anything here, but like try to understand the audience. Like, who am I going to attack? What are the KPIs they care about? And try to identify 2 of those, right? So you talked about the domains, right? You might realize that don't start with the data. You start with the problem. Like, I'm actually solving a problem. What kind of problems they would have the appetite to pay maybe a little premium to solve that problem? So I see a lot of companies start with the data. Oh, I have this data. Yeah, I'm sure people will be willing to have it. But you can look at the data from so many angles, just like you put it, like this template, this pipeline, or that instruction set on how to create at scale that data infrastructure. But yeah, so first narrow down the 1 or 2 top niche use cases that you will take to market first and iterate.
Quick one. If you're enjoying this episode and our show, please make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links on the description as per usual.
Also, if you'd like to grow this community with us, think about sharing this episode with a friend or a colleague interested about all things data.
Now, back to the episode.
What is interesting is, in my point of view, you're describing as well, if we think about those individuals who are going to develop that, those data engineers, analytics engineers, dashboard developers, etc., it's important for them to have this kind of business acumen and a bit of entrepreneurship mindset as well, so they can basically part of this journey to develop this new business line for the organization. I have a quick question. So it's referring back to last week's episode about data observability. This is one trend we discussed with Ivan in December, and this is obviously something that is actually upcoming quite a lot in a space. Have you seen this topic with your clients when it comes to data monetization, when it comes to like services your clients? Is there like a lot of discussion with them when it comes to SLA around this data, or is it something that is not really present yet with your clients?
Yeah, no, so not framed or with this term really well canned, like observability, but in one way or another, yeah, I think back to what we were saying about how do you make that data scale for that specific domain and how it finally surfaces into your application. If the application is a dashboard, I get questions very often, like how do I make sure that my dashboards are not showing crappy data? Like how do I ensure if it's correct? So they iterate all the time on the way they're producing the data, they're cleaning, they're enriching, and yeah, that definitely they talk about implementing measures to kind of automate some of those testings in the background. And it goes all the way to some of them even looking at comparing pictures. So whenever they make a change or maybe every night they have a standard picture layout, and in the morning they run a robot to just test running a report on behalf, like simulating a user, comparing that image. Because sometimes it comes blank, or sometimes just by visual cues using some image detection algorithm, you can kind of tell this is probably way wrong. I don't even need to look at the numbers, but it's far off.
Yeah. And I think you are giving away another tier of monetization for people now that when you were
exactly
giving that, like, oh, you would like to have SLAs and data observability, you might have paid premium, right? Like just to have this level of detail, right? Like, okay, so would you like to have this stats, observability, usage stats, monitoring, schema, evolution, change, all of this. It's a premium.
Yeah, no, I think you're touching on an amazing point because people think about data monetization. You always need to get that data in the hands of the customer and now monetize. But it could be that for the end customer, so they don't have to really pay the premium for these capabilities is baked in. But you have an enterprise maybe that uses your product to the next level, and as you said, like you want these additional controls that are tied to SLAs. Yeah, absolutely. I will charge you more. Besides that, like just simple ways to monetize is if you're using a platform you bought and you did a building house, you kind of enable or disable the features of the platform, like downloading data. You want to do that? Maybe you need to be part of the premium tier. Or you want to see more than 1 year worth of data? You need to be part of the premium tier, right? So that's something you can turn on and off very, very easily with these platforms.
Yeah.
From a technical perspective, and also value. You deliver more value depending on like tiers of.
And I feel like we're going to talk about the buzzword of the episode, which is data contracts, right?
Exactly. That's also another trend we've been discussing.
Yeah, basically what you mentioned there, right? Like you have that premium into this. I think, it's not to be here a devil's advocate or try to push the boundaries here.
We are in the devil's advocate moment of the episode.
I mean, I think we discuss a bit of the future, right?
Yeah.
We talk about the future of how you can sell data in a way, right? My point of view is that, yes, I'm not saying that this will never end. This will never end. But are we hitting a ceiling on the ways that you can actually do it? If you know what I mean. I feel like sometimes we always go full circle in a lot of the trends. And I feel like adding all these levels of premium or non-premium into monetization will make people say, like, you know what? I will just use generative AI and ask this bot to get in the data for me without paying. if you know what I mean. So what is the future that when you see this, how can organizations sell this data, right?
Great question, Jesus. Very topical, right? I think you raise a very good point that the access to data is becoming so easy now with these technologies. Like it's very timely, ChatGPT coming out, and you can ask almost anything and it's there. Well, in my view, I mean, one reason why these companies will continue to be able to monetize is the fact that the data is private. Previously, it would be like I would give my data to you, and you would link it to me because then we're gonna score higher on search results. But now, no, I'm gonna keep it private because I don't need to go. And I agree with you, Christian. I don't need to go and make a fancy premium tiering on my product. I can just operate in a very simple way, just insights as a service for a very niche audience. They know the value of my data. I know exactly the KPIs that will, light them up. And So I think there's a long way to go, and I agree with you. Keep it simple.
And maybe we will pay even more than it used to be. Who knows?
And even the ones that are in the public domain. I want to give an example. A company that I used back then when it was tiny, it's called AirDNA. I think they were scraping Airbnb data. So it was public. But they just scraped it, and they gave to landlords and people who wanted to put ads on Airbnb and hotels as well, the information they got. And Airbnb said, you know what? This has so much value. It's my data in the end, and I can see how to monetize this. And I can either build a company and go after this company and put them in the court, or I can try to monetize. So they just acquired the company. And nowadays you can browse there and you can make investment decisions, which areas you can buy properties, or how much you can rent it for in short term or long term, and all kinds of things. And kind of example, like, even with ChatGPT, you're going to have people doing amazingly smart things to get to the data and monetize it somehow. It's not their data. Even if you don't have data today, they will massage it and create a version of it that tells the story of someone who really needs that story right now. Because people don't have time. Like, even if ChatGPT is so easy, I don't have time to keep asking all the questions in the world. Like, if you can massage and give me the insight ready to go, maybe that's all I need. Like, do the research for me, like it has always happened with Bloomberg's and Thomson Reuters and all these market analysts. They always sat down and did the hard work of researching and massaging and producing insights back to people.
And what I like about what you just said is, for any data individual listening to this episode, you're basically giving everyone a business idea to show to the entire world your individual value. If you're a data person, if you know the tools, or if you have the will to explore those tools, you can monetize the data you will find on the internet and make value out of it. And I don't know if you can make a salary, but it's a fantastic piece of work to have for your CV.
Yes, I agree.
We're ending this episode, and as usual with all our guests, we ask this question. Maybe you already prepared an answer, which is, what is the most important professional piece of advice you ever received?
I did not think about that. No, professional piece of advice, I would say, at this moment, don't get too distracted by what's happening out there. Like, technologies are evolving too fast. I mean, at this moment, everyone is either extremely excited or extremely scared. And I would say this will always happen. There's always this thing, like Bitcoin was 5 years ago, and like, there will always be something to distract us. So I would say continue following your convictions and don't stress too much. The grass is always greener on the other side, people say, but focus on what you love, and maybe try to build a plan long term and not just live by the day. Have one long term goal and like underpinning everything you do. So like every day you're kind of getting closer, but don't stress too much. Just have fun. Really.
Amazing, Eskia. Thank you so much for your time. Before we leave, where can people follow you?
Thank you, guys. This was really fun to talk, and I learn from you every day as well. You guys can follow me. I'm not very active in social media, but I have a profile on LinkedIn, in Twitter. Sometimes I do blogs, as you said, technology related, and yeah, you can find it all on those platforms.
We'll put the links on the description of the episode.
Thank you. Awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Alex Esky, and we hope to have you in another episode soon.
Have a good one. Thanks for listening to this episode. This podcast represents our views and not the ones of our employers.
Our mission at the Data Coffee Break podcast is to inform you and help you grow in this always changing data field.
Follow us and get into the conversation with the community on our LinkedIn page and Instagram.
See you next Tuesday, and until then, keep your data caffeinated.